What's going on, guys? It's March 9th. We're going to be going over the trade recaps that I took on March 9th. And um, yeah, I mean, this has just been a really dry market per se. Whenever you're looking at this from like the daily chart, you're going to say, oh my gosh, okay, we filled this bull gap from over here. And then that's whenever we started to retest into the early January OPEX levels. Those levels also not quite nearing the previous all-time high, so the pullback was a little bit hard to time down here, but it was into a heavy data set. I did just talk about that in the video, how heavy data sets on pullbacks with week sells or early week rallies are going to um, typically go into data will reverse price. But let's just get into the recent trades that I've been taking. So I took BA yesterday. So one thing that I want to talk about is, first of all, we had this major daily trend break. If you want to pull up your little volume shelves, you can. But I'm more of a levels kind of guy, so whenever I'm looking at this and I say, oh my gosh, we have a swing low here that led us to a whole entire new high, that's a very important level. And considering it's the most recent swing low, where we also tried to establish a secondary bounce off of this, is just very important, right? Considering that it also ties in a confluence with the earnings candle high. Now, technically, they marked this candle up from here to here, and then they sold off their inventory and they rebid it lower just about 10 points lower. So then we get this subsequent daily candle, which is kind of like a little hammer. And then that's whenever we start getting that relief higher. We close with a nice strong daily high volume candle closure above the earnings candle high and also reclaiming this swing low and this support and then also breaking through this daily trend. Now, whenever we're seeing this and we're going into our 5 or our 15 or our hourly, whatever it is, and you're looking at this and you go, oh my gosh, we got news. And then this news is followed by a kind of like a higher low, and it holds on the hourly perspective of the earnings candle high, and then it sits there and it bases it, right? And it also is basing this swing low over here, but it's primarily just basing all of this stuff over here, right? This is where kind of the general area where a higher low would go, considering that we had a low put in, a higher low, a break in the downtrend trend line, I guess you could say. And then from there, that's whenever we got the retest and then the base. So when you're looking at this on the 5, you're going to say, oh my gosh, yeah, here's our bearish news that came in to close on Monday. And then the following day, what do we get? Was kind of ever so slightly a gap down, and then a base all of Tuesday throughout the whole entire day, and actually also into Wednesday. So this was a quick little sign of reaccumulation kind of happening with no strong seller within the tape down into here as we got down into here off this level, and it was just a buyer that was kind of soaking any sort of sell that was coming in as a panic seller off of this candle. So that's one thing that I did really like about this. Another thing that I really liked about this is that this is whenever we started to get the continuation and the more of a defined trend, as you can see, with higher lows and then trying to break above these previous highs into this imbalanced candle. This is technically, I guess you could say, the local progression that was lost. But whenever you're looking at this from like a structural standpoint, this was a really nice break and then a trickle downwards back into like 177, like 50. What you could do is I typically will just take a gom box from low to high and look at where near the 50 is. And then if I find a higher low off that spot from such a big base into where I think trend could start becoming established, then I'll take my long from there. And then I noticed how the tape was getting a little bit more active with heavier volume pouring in. And then once I saw stuff like this, that's whenever I sized in. So I sized in over here. I was break even right off the open. And then from there, I kind of just rode this thing up. And then we kept getting a leg up. And then we got a new high. So I essentially took this from like 179.40 up into about 182. So it was about a $2 move on BA biweeklies. Not the worst, not the best. And then I panic sold actually into the close. Do I need to do that? Not necessarily, but it was a bearish news piece that was coming in. off of, us covering a lot of this sell side ground. So I figured, you know what, I'm not really going to try and go back red on this. I already have a position that's fucking with me. That position being Johnson and Johnson. I've still been in Johnson and Johnson, guys. This chart is just really nice where it shows I've already recapped this, but this was a very well established support off of 145. It dug beneath it, and then we got these 3 bar series of reversal type look candles. And then from there, that's whenever we started to get that first pop. And then afterwards, what did we get? It was like a lower volume sell. Into that lower volume sell was a heavy volume gap up and very heavy volume, the heaviest volume actually ever since Friday, December 15th, which is an OPEX candle. So that doesn't necessarily count. Before that, it was the heaviest volume since 14.4 mil. This was the heaviest volume in Johnson & Johnson since August of last year. Okay, so that just goes to show you guys that there is a little bit of intention over here, given the fact that this is a very heavy volume candle for relatively speaking. So whenever you start seeing how you're getting this sell coming in off of that nice gap up, and he's on really low volume in comparison to the buy side candle, and then this starts just forming um, candles that are within the trading range of this massive um, bullish candle here, then typically what we could wait for is the volume to really start drying up within the range over here, and then that's whenever you start getting the expansion once there's not enough supply, and boom, that's whenever you do that, right? So that's what the intention kind of was, and then as you can see, today was another day where we gap up. My average was always just kind of been adding into here, 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 right? So my average is, I'm green on the trade whenever I move up to here. This is bi-weekly contracts. And we have an external high over here. That external high is pretty much swallowing this whole entire range of resistance, followed by this little double top in here. And then we kind of broke it and tried to test into it. We failed it, and then we kind of just flagged out and consolidated on like the hourly time frame into the close. So this is a very, very, very nice chart for what looks to be like structure could be developing for a break, a base, and then a shoot up here for the 152 spot. Um, but yet again, I'm looking to just claim a win on this. I closed off the day back up like 17%. I was up like 35% up here at the open whenever we saw that nice move. I want to talk about the DraftKings trade real quick, and then we will close things off. Another really, really, really low volume day. Um, so whenever you're looking at this from like the structural standpoint and the distributive standpoint, this is distribution, major liquidation candle, technically a false breakout, and then a lower high, two volume heavy volume sells. Here's a heavy volume lower high type of candle here, with a very long sell wick behind it, and then from there, that's whenever we started to get to sell. Boom. What do we have down here? An external low from this support, right? And then we also have a major breakout level that we didn't ever retest, and then we came back down. We did retest it. Now we're getting the relief back into earnings. We could look for a fourth higher low. We got the mark up from the earnings, only about 5%. Didn't even make the implied move on the earnings report itself. And then from there, that's whenever we started trading within the confines of the earnings candle, all on really low volume in comparison to this fourth lower high on the daily chart that is off of the preliminary resistance, a level that I do like to use, considering the fact that that's where the first seller with a heavy amount of money stepped in on the name was over here. And then what do you see is trading within the ranges of that heavy volume inside bar on really low volume. So I'm looking to profit roll those shorts. I already am profit rolled technically on next week expiration, but I'm going to try and see if this one is going to fail off the equilibrium of the 618, and I could even add more into the position. It's not a super serious position. We're going to go over the missed chart that I talked about for a while. Hold on. Okay, my bad. Anyway, yeah, so we're gonna talk a little bit about this one, and then we're gonna um, go over into the. Okay, so here's an example real quick, guys, of great example of a great structural chart where here looking for a higher low. So that was whenever we saw the progression being claimed in a nice reversal, not reversal, but like what you would want to see at the bottom of a bull flag. And then if you go over here, that's whenever you start seeing, okay, there's your higher low. The higher low, where do you think it's coming off of? Probably the 618. It was exactly the 618, and then we get the rip today. So this was a chart that I really had in mind, but I just never caught it because it just pushed right off the open. And I actually talked about this one with the Discord in terms of looking for a break and base on 117. We just never got the true retest. So yeah, I forgot it. Didn't catch that one, but it is what it is. What is this? Oh, Pepsi. That's just a further. That's a time. That's a trade with further time on it. Oh, I did catch a small win on Johnson and Johnson today, and then we're gonna go over to NVIDIA real quick. All right, we'll start out with NVIDIA. Okay, so NVIDIA has been. There's been a lot of mixed sentiment with NVIDIA. First of all, what are we in? Let's be real here. If we're looking at daily levels, what are we in? It's a resistance, man. You need to, like, I'm looking personally to short a resistance, not long it. Now, longing it lower could be a totally different thing, but we did break this 3 bar series, almost 4 technically, of resistance, and then we got this really low volume pop on Monday, and it was into this resistance from over here. Now, what happens afterwards is we trade within the ranges of there. When we go to like this is where I shorted. We got the gap down, then we got a really heavy seller coming in off the open. And then here's stopping volume with these 2 lower lows, both heavy volume candles with with a buy side wick on it, favoring buyers. And as you can see, the 5 minute prints were holding the opening print over here in the gap up very well. And as you can see, that was an established support that has been created for the longest time. Now, this is where I shorted today. I shorted over here previously. And then this was a nice reshort opportunity off of this imbalance right over here. I'm sure that is also probably like your 618, maybe even a little low higher. But then we get our third lower high. We sell really hard on a lot of volume, which is very notable considering that um, we don't really have any follow through with any sort of buyers here. What did we get was a first lower low, and then we ripped back higher. We created lower highs, and then a lower low from this lower low, and then a third lower low. It was bought. This is a shallow lower high, boys, right? So this is typically going to fail. It creates a new lower low on the day. And then from there, what is this? This is just a really weak, um, like buyish. What am I saying? Bullish, buyish. Oh shit. This is a really weak buy side move that's pushing back into where that super heavy seller was right off the open. And then we get a high volume candle over here that looks like a failure. And then I take the short like right here. And then I'm risking above this candle closure, kind of like above 890, like 895. And this is also a major support loss in a simple retest. So yeah, I mean, this is just a quick little scalp for the day. Meta was a similar thing. Meta is a little bit different though. It's a bull gap. It's entering into a bull gap, right? So this is the level. That's the new. It's entering itself. We're entering into a bull gap. Okay. So that is like a daily support. Okay, so 476 was like a major daily level, and this is also entering into a bull gap, and then we're rallying our way higher. My plan was to short QQQ. I caught a little bit over here, but this was what I talked about all day in live, if you were in live with me, was okay, we have to draw likely to this high, right? Because there's no seller really in here, and the sellers, the volume's really dry right beneath a high. So why would I short right beneath the high? I'd rather see it tap the high and then a seller actually come in and get some volatility going for us. And that's exactly what happened. So then I looked over for some other trades to trade alongside the short, and then I took some meta like oh I took some meta like over here within this candle, 475 down into like 473. It was only like a $2 move. It was a 1 day till expiration though, so it was just a scalp, but I went like 25% green, but scaled half, and then the other half went red 30%, so I technically lost a little bit there. Oh no, I had 1/4, so I pretty much broke even considering that I sold at market and bought at ask because I thought it could reverse a little bit more, and it kind of just chopped to death into the close. Um, that was kind of the review for today. I could have had a really nice day if I were to just take the Johnson & Johnson win from up here. Um, Take a look at my one top focus, which was Zom and traded over here. But I said in live how I'm really not looking to add on any sort of new exposure to the markets. The market has not been great. So I'm trying to minimize my positioning whenever the market's in low volume, whenever the indices volume looks like this. It's not something I'm so interested in. So yeah, guys, I mean that's that. There's really not much more to it. I'll update you guys with a recap for Friday, and yeah.